In this video, I'll show you how to use the batch setting functionality of import and export to essentially copy machines more quickly. Now, let's first take a look at a machine that I've previously set up. This is RoboDrill machine number 1, and I would like to add 9 more to the shop floor. Now, I could come in and add them one at a time here, but what I'd like to do is just use this functionality to do it even easier. So again, let's take a look at this machine I've previously created. For this machine, I've used all the basic signals with the exception that I've set up to monitor the feed rate override knob, and I've set out what's known as the Outlier Detection. What this will do is set up some thresholds which I can use in various ways, such as triggering an email. Now, I've set this up so that it is whenever it's 90% or less or 110% or more, that it will set off a trigger. I've also set up to monitor a PMC signal, which in this case is a lamp on the operator's panel. Yeah, it's Y12 bit 3. I say OK. And now if we look at the equipment setting, what I've modified here for this RoboDrill machine is under the Simple Assign Status area, I've set priority views, these check boxes. I've marked them, and I've slightly altered the web name. And what that means is when I come to this page and I look at the machine, here's my mode. I pull the admin tool back up. Up to 10 items can be selected to be displayed right here. And I've chosen, I want to know what mode the machine is in, what the executing program is, number of machined parts, and then this PMC 12-bit 3. And I can modify that, and I can say, well, this is going to be a door interlock. And I've also set it up so that if the feed rate override is not at 100%, let me adjust it, the machine will blink, given a visual representation that something is up with that machine. It could be various signals, but in this case, I'm particularly monitoring the feed rate override. That's back at 100. And my machine is now steady. And I did that here under the warning. I've added this in. So what this user signal means is if the RoboDrill is not disconnected and it's not an alarm and there's no warnings, and I put here, or the override is exclamation point equals, which is 100, means if it's not at 100, then you're in this warning status. So let me save that. Now that I've saved my changes and sent them to the database and restarted the collector, let's take a look at the change. Now, instead of saying PMC address Y12, it now says door interlock. So now I'm ready to make copies of this machine. So let's first export. And now we see that we have successfully exported all the settings, no warnings and no errors. And this is where it actually created a folder which is date and time stamped. So let's now take a look at that. So under the admin tool folder, there's an export folder, and here is where we will find the files that we just exported. We have the collector setting input file. Now, this is the most important file, and then it will, as you're reading it back in later in the import function, it will obtain information created in these other subfolders. So first thing we want to do is open the collective setting. Here's where we will see our current configuration: mill 1, mill 2, lathe 1, and robo drill number 1. This is the machines that are for this collector. Now the next sheet is machine setting. This is where we'll have the actual name of the machines, the web names which will appear on the web URL, the IP addresses for the machines, whether or not the CNC calendar and time is synchronized with the server. The robo drill right now is currently set for every 24 hours. This is the number of paths, number of axes, and number of spindles. The very far right, we have a couple of optional settings. One is you're using the Outlier Detection, which we are using it for the feed rate override knob, and the signal pattern. And the signal pattern are these signals, your basic signals. And we're pretty well using everything out of the box. And all the machines are exactly the same. We have the equipment setting and group setting. So let's go back to the collector, and let's let the collector know that there's going to be some more machines. So I will just grab the lower right hand corner, drag it over, and we're going to add a total 10 robo drills. On the machine setting page, well, while I'm here, I can go ahead and choose these. The signals are the same, so I'm just going to have them refer to the same sheet in the signal pattern workbook. So I'll copy each of my machines, and for sake of argument, let's just say my IP addresses are all sequential order. And again, I want all of this exactly the same. We have synchronize the calendars and clocks, the number of paths, number of axes and spindles are the same. However, if you had different types of equipment, you could certainly put that in here as well. You know, you're not limited to just doing duplicate equipment. If you knew the information in advance, how many paths, axes, and spindles, by all means you could put that here. Equipment setting. Now in this case, there is going to be a little slight variant, and what this is referring to on an equipment status pattern is in this area, the multiple assigned status area. Now we've set up a warning, and you'll notice everything here is referencing robo drill number 1. Well, in order for this to function correctly, we'll have to have each machine refer to itself. So we will give each machine its own worksheet in the workbook. However, the rest of this is going to be identical. We're going to use the same image files. These image files are for the status states of the machines, the different colors. All right, group setting. Well, these machines are in the widget crank line, and I will just add them. Okay, so now all I need to do is just save and close this file. Okay, next we'll need to go into the Define Setting folder and open up the Equipment Status Setting Excel file. Now for our robo drill that currently exists, the pattern setting was 104. Now what we'll need to do is create a separate worksheet for each machine. So I'll just create a copy, and let's unprotect this sheet so I can make some changes. And this pattern is going to be 105, and let's rename all references to robo drill number 1 to robo drill number 2. Okay, now at this point I'm going to just stop the video for a moment, and I'm going to go ahead and recreate the remaining 8 sheets, one for each new robo drill. Okay, now you can see that I've completed a separate worksheet for each new machine. We have robo drill number 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on up to 10. And I've adjusted this cell right here. This is the equipment status pattern. And this is what the collective setting Excel file will be looking at. So now that I've finished this, let's close it. Now let's talk just a moment about some of these other files. We have the custom signal setting file. Now we did set one up for this machine. So it was, let's go to pattern 104, which is the robo drill number 1. And we're taking a look at a PMC address, Y12 bit 3, and the sampling rate is every half a second. Now at this point we could add more addresses to look at, and they could be macro variables or P-code variables. Now I'm going to leave them the same because I'm only going to be looking at one right now, and all of my machines are going to be set identical, so in this case I will not have to make copies of each worksheet and rename them. So let's close this. Macro setting, well, we didn't set up to monitor any macro variables, so this is blank right now. However, the premise is the same as the custom signal setting. Same with the signal setting. Every one of these machines is identical, and in this case our feed rate override, let me find it, here it is set to sample at every 500 milliseconds or every half a second. And if we wanted to change, instead of coming into here and making modifications, we could make those very same modifications on this Excel workbook. So now let's take a look at a couple other files that we're going to need to adjust. These are located in the Input Disabled folder. They are the two Excel files. The Filter Setting Excel file contains the Outlier Detection settings, which in this example we've set our feed rate override knob, the warning and error. So I'll just copy this. Oop, forgot to unlock the sheet. And we're going to have one for each of the machines. Oh, too many. We'll delete that one. Okay, so this is for our outlier detection, which again is the same as this. The other file is the status signal setting file. This file correlates to the settings on the equipment settings screen under the Simple Assign Status area. So here we selected our priority view and our web name. So if I want to keep this same without having to go into each machine and modifying this, I'll just go into this Excel file. So I'll first of all unprotect the sheet, highlight robo drill number 1, paste it, and now everything referenced here for robo drill number 1 I will change to robo drill number 2. I'll need to do this for each of the remaining 8 machines, so I'll stop the video here and I'll complete the copy paste. Okay, now that you can see I've completed doing the copy paste routine all the way through robo drill number 10. I'm going to save this file. I'm going to come over to the import and we'll navigate to the folder that we outputted earlier. It's under the admin tool, export, and it was the latest one. And this is where we select the collective setting input Excel file. And we click run, say OK. Now it's bringing that information in. Alright, do we want to re-register the schedule? No, the current schedule will remain. Now, this has to do with our daily reports and sending data to the DB to the integration server. So we say no. Batch setting has completed. 0 warnings, 0 errors. Now that the batch file has been imported, we'll need to go to our layout setting, select the shop floor that we want to modify, which is our crank line, and now we'll add each machine one at a time, placing them on the shop floor where desired. Alright, we'll say OK. Now we'll send the new settings to the database. We'll stop the system, recreate the collector files, and then restart the system. This typically takes a couple of moments, so I'm going to again stop the video. Now that that's finished, let's go back into the web, sign back in, and let's take a look at our views. Now we have all 10 robo drill machines, and if we drill in, you can see that the display on the equipment monitoring is as desired. However, please note these machines are disconnected right now. Except our original machine, which is connected. So in less than 25 minutes, we've set up roughly 10 machines. So you can see this is the import export functionality of the batch setting tool is very, very useful. You can also, if you're a software integrator, you could configure these pattern settings for a customer, then simply email it to them, and then they just import, and then their factory floor is up and set as desired. Thank you for your time.